So today we are going through the design thinking training demo. So starting with the presentation, I would first like to take you through MindMajix, which is a live and interactive e-learning platform that offers professional online education, and it provides several cyber training in the various fields. It has industry ready and active certification based curriculum. It has over 9+ years of experience serving in e-learning industry and over 10 years of experience in trainers. It also has 110 plus reputed corporate around the globe, and 450K plus professionals have been trained till now on MindMajix. It has 500 plus technologies delivering live online trainings, corporate trainings, and self-paced videos. So that's about MindMajix. Coming to the trainer, I am a design professional, social entrepreneur, systems thinker, and an educator. I have done my bachelor's from National Institute of Fashion Technology in accessory design and master's in industrial furniture design from CEPT University. I have over 6 years of experience working in the design industry. I also run a design studio which was based in 2014, and since then it has been running as a crafts based design studio, and I've been working with various crafts around India for uplifting them and making various design interventions in terms of organizational level or artisan workshops and product design interventions too. Apart from this, I have been teaching at various design universities in India, which includes CEPT, NIFT, Vox University in Hyderabad, and quite a few more. So today's agenda is basically design thinking, and give you a brief introduction about this particular course, which is design thinking. Moving ahead, the course curriculum basically has 5-6 major topics, which we'll be covering through 25 hours. So first would be the design thinking, the basic introduction to design thinking, how it was started. So as we all know, I mean, the term itself says that this kind of thinking has its root in design particularly. And when we say design is more of a problem solving activity and a process. So having its roots in problem solving, this particular kind of thinking is required for any kind of problem solving requirements in any aspect of life. It is not only restricted to design field, but it can be applied in your day-to-day life in an organization. If you're going to have a startup, in that particular startup, or maybe working with a community, or running your own brand or enterprise. So it is just a way of thinking and giving a whole new perspective how you can think, understand things, and do a problem solving activity along with the things which we are coming ahead, and take it forward. So it will have a basic introduction to design thinking skills. What are the different principles? How we have to converge and diverge from time to time. It is not a very linear process. So it is a very iterative process where you go forward, come back, think again, might have to change the direction which you have taken, and then come back again. And it's like step back every time and analyze the situation from all the point of views and then move forward. So it is not a very linear process that has to be done. And as I say that it's not a linear process, it automatically states that it's a very hands-on course, and it has to be done with a lot of involvement and active participation. Definitely it is going to have theoretical part, but it's more of practicality and thinking at all points and at all stages that will come across during a project in hand. Plus we'll also take care about the 5 Ds in design thinking, which are like the standards that we talk about while doing design thinking. Also, we'll talk about double diamond process during design thinking, and it will also take you through various design thinking case studies, differentiating design thinking, and also how we can apply that particular design thinking in the real practical world. And it shouldn't remain to this course or to this course itself. So we'll have to learn how we can actually apply it at various things. Apart from the introduction and understanding of the design thinking, we'll then take one of the Ds of the design process and move forward. A few weeks, we'll go through each stage. We'll spend time on each of the stages that we have in hand, and we'll try to move forward understanding all the aspects of that particular stage. For example, we'll go ahead with discovery, where we try to do a problem identification. What are the existing problems out there? And then we have to define that problem. So it's not always necessary whatever you see is the actual problem. So you might have to search, discover, explore around that problem, and then analyze that what's the actual problem. So that's where you move from discovery to defining the problem more concretely to move forward. Once you have defined the problem, then it takes you to a stage where it requires a lot of ideation. You come up with many conceptualizations, how we can move forward, what should be the best solution given to the problem. And then we also try to think from all stakeholders point of view. So it requires a lot of observations, understanding of empathy. So this actually tells us that design thinking is a problem solving activity. At the same time, it has a very user centric and a human centric approach towards solving problem. So it is not like that you take a problem and you give a solution. You try to understand each and every user who's the part in that particular problem, how things will be framed around it, right? And how we can actually consider all of the users who are there in the part of problem identification, and who directly or indirectly contribute in the problem that we have identified and we have taken in hand. So dream stage is the stage where we actually ideate multiple solutions to the problem that we have taken in hand. Now there are possibilities that we might do 10, 20, 100 solutions, which may or may not suit to the actual problem. And the most common problem that we see is the solution that we come up with for a problem actually becomes a problem again in one or the other way. So if we take a very common example, let's say mobile was invented and it was a huge solution at that point of time. But over a period of time, we have now realized that mobile itself is causing a lot of problems, and now design thinkers are working around that particular problem. So it is not only restricted to a solution of the problem that we have taken in hand. It essentially means that the problem that you have taken has to be well thought of from all the perspectives, and also you have to take care of the past and present and also of the future consequences that this particular problem or the solution that you are going to give for that particular problem that we have taken in hand uh, can actually pose various problems in the future. And if we can think of those problems, then it is our responsibility while doing design thinking that we take care of those future potential problems that might be caused because of our solution, and then again rectify the solution that we have come up with. So again, it's how I mentioned that it's a very iterative process where you go forward, come back. So it's like a back and forth process that has to be done in design thinking. Once we have gone through the solutions, we have gone through the part where we ideate using various techniques, which could include brainstorming, mind mapping, and various other things that we'll go through in the course once we'll start. Then we land up to a stage which is design. So designing is where we work on the solutions that we have ideated. So ideation is not concrete. Those solutions are not the solutions that can be directly deployed in the market or in the field, and we can take them forward directly. So they need a lot of refinement. Again, we might need to go back and ideate few more things, come back. We might need to do a complete research at this particular stage, maybe. So it's not that once we have identified the problem, our research is over. At this particular point where we are trying to do the conceptualization and ideation, we might need to go back again and research more about things. Maybe there are a few stakeholders that we thought we understood them at that particular time, but we need several other nuances. We need to get a rich detail of the users that we identified in the problem identification process, and we might need to do the study of those users again. There might be few gaps that we identified while coming at this stage that we have left at the stage of discovery. So it's like again back and forth, and it will a lot of time, and it requires a lot of thinking where you have to think from 360-degree perspective. You have to keep yourself in the shoes of the user. You have to walk a mile in wearing their shoes so that you can actually understand what the user goes through and what are the requirements of the user. Because one major principle or concept that we have in design is designer is in most of the cases not the user, him or herself. So that is something that we have to take care of, and we have to be very cautious at making every decision, because as per our human nature we tend to make decisions from our perspective. But being designers, you have to forget about yourself, and you have to uh, think and always think from the perspective of the user who is there, your stakeholder, or who is going to be the part of the solution that you are coming up with. So once we have completed this stage, then the most important part is the dry run, which we also call maybe pilot run, which includes the validation of the solution. So now I have done multiple hundreds of ideations. Out of those, maybe I have taken forward 5, 10 of the concepts which I thought had the potential to move ahead. Now I have concretized those particular concepts which I have taken in hand, and I am trying to see that fits in the solution, in the problem or not. Does it pose any other problems, or does are there any other points which may go wrong once we deploy it? Once all of these things are done, we do a sort of prototyping. So prototyping is like a prior version to the final product or service which we are going to design, or which we are going to come up as a solution, right? So that prototyping stage is done, and we try to map users. It might be a focus group testing. It might be a testing where you just leave your prototype among a lot of users, and then you observe how they are doing it. So there are multiple various techniques again at this particular stage, and there are multiple types of prototyping: low fidelity, high fidelity, and what is required, that is to be decided as per the solution and problem we have in hand, and what kind of users we are targeting to. So these are the various aspects again that we'll have to think. We'll have to take multiple decisions at this stage and move forward. Once we have moved forward with all the decision making and things, the validation will be in terms of user testing. So how does the user interact with our solution? How do they perceive it? How are they interacting with it? So there are various other aspects that comes into play at this particular stage. And once we have done this, again it the honest feedback, and the honest feedback to self, that problem and solution we have come up with, be very critical and honest about it. That's the first ground rule of design thinking, that uh, I, being a design thinker, I'll have to be ready for criticism and honesty in throughout the process. So once we are at this last stage of validating our solution, it's possible that we again have to go 2 3 stages back and start off again, because once we have given it to the user, they are not at all interact with the particular product or service, or they are not at all accepting or adapting the solution as we wanted it. And overall we find that it is going to be a failure in future. So we have to be ready to move back, come forward, and again, it's a lot of thinking that has to be involved at each and every process. So this is in a nutshell what we'll be doing in these 25 hours of this particular course. And we'll be going through each of the stage in detail. We'll have a project in hand, and it would be more or less like a real time project that we would be taking care of, and we'll move forward. So just to mention again, the particular training thing will be of 25 hours in total. For time and fees relations, you can visit the website or contact MindMajix. This course would include 2 hands-on projects. It will be focused on one-to-one discussions, as I have already mentioned in the previous slides, that it's more of a hands-on learning, experiential learning, where we take problems in hand and we try to navigate ourselves, guide ourselves through those problems to reach to our destination, or to reach closer and closer to the solution. So again, it's not like a theoretical process or training session that we'll be going through. So it will be completely a one-to-one discussion where we have discussions with each other. We'll try to look at various perspectives, various aspects of this thing, and we'll try to break our mental blockages. Which so the main motto of design thinking is to get out of our mental blockages, to get out of our own box and see the box from outside and see everything from all the possible perspectives possible. So uh, this would be one of the important aspects of this design thinking training that we'll be starting. And the last would be to have various design thinking techniques in our bucket. So being design thinkers, I mean, there are few standard and few quite popular design thinking techniques that are already there. As I mentioned, like brainstorming, mind mapping, observations, there are multiple tools. So these are what we call tools actually. So again, these are very important, and being design thinkers, we always need few tools in our bucket, just like any other technician who works, like a electrician or plumber. They always have their toolkit with themselves. So just like that, design thinkers have their own toolkit, and which involves various techniques to explore and to apply while navigating our way through the problem. So we'll be going through multiple design thinking techniques throughout this course. When we talk about design thinking training in the market, so it is one of the most essential skills required in the present time. As I already mentioned, that has its root in design field. So it was always there as a part of design process, and considering design as a problem solving activity, designers have always followed this kind of thinking process to move ahead and design industrial design products or services that are required. So in the late 50s and 60s, it was actually uh, realized that organizations and corporates are lacking somewhere in kind of innovation or kind of groundbreaking innovation that has to be done, and quite a few companies are not able to run properly or to achieve the best that they can achieve. And the major realization was that the employees, the people who are running the organization, are from a very logical and analytical background, and what they lack is the understanding of the user, the consumer, the user needs that are required, and also a kind of creative thinking that is required to bring out innovation, to think out of the box maybe, or even to explore all the aspects within the box. And how to do that? So it was then the design thinking term was coined and introduced in the field, and it definitely helps businesses, organizations, communities, startups to actually innovate and transform the way things are. So as I mentioned that we'll be going through various design case studies also. So just to give you an example, Kodak camera, I think I'm sure everyone knows about it, and how um, it led to the downfall of the organization. And somewhere it is said that it's because of the lack of innovation and lack of foresightedness. The company couldn't expand or couldn't explore its best potential with the changing needs of the user and with the changing market. So this is one thing that would be very important, and that is why we talk about design thinking. And it is definitely very much important to learn, and be it any industry, be it engineering, medical, design, or any other profession, or if you, even if you are working in an organization or you are going to start your own organization, this will equip you completely with a tool set where you can actually take any problem in hand, no matter how complex or how simple it is, and you may navigate your way and guide yourself towards a solution for improvement and betterment of the complete system. And it is definitely required to find gaps and address them efficiently. This is one of the course, if everyone is aware of that nowadays, even in higher secondary schools, this particular course have been introduced, so that students from the very initial age also have exposure to this field. And it is a way of thinking, it is a way where you can broaden your mind, you can explore various things, and you have multiple ways of looking at one particular thing. It is not like that because I have been told by my parents, or I have been told by my faculties, or it is the way how society looks at particular things, so this is how it works. No, design thinking gives you a way where you say that, okay, I have taken this thing in particular hand, and there are multiple ways of looking at this thing. I can look it from this angle, and I find another way of looking at this which is completely different from how the society thinks. And maybe there might be multiple perspectives of the people itself. It is not necessary that two people will look at the same thing in the same way. They can look at the same thing in a very very different way, and that is what we try to do in design thinking. And this is the major point why design thinking is very much important for any field profession to learn and to have them in their bag. After the completion of this design thinking training certification, we'll undergo two projects. You will undergo live sessions, one-on-one discussion, and once we have completed this particular training session, you will be awarded a certificate upon the successful completion of this particular course, which will be given by MindMajix, and you will have your trainer name, and it will be an authentic certification that you have gone through the proper uh, course of design thinking. And this very well goes in the CV or resume, and also uh, it is something that counts a lot once you go in an interview, or you are actually maybe seeking for further professional recognition, or any such qualities which are required for any professional upliftment. Okay, so Moving ahead, I would also like to mention few of the random topics from the course, which we'll also be covering, like the various kinds of research methods, which are the part of a discovery stage. So, what are the different kinds of quantitative and qualitative research methods? And prior to that, what exactly we mean by quantitative and qualitative research methods? What is the differentiation between those two? How they are exactly different from each other, and when to use which kind of research method to move ahead in the process. It is very, very important and decisive to actually understand which method has to be used at what point. It is not always that I can take up any of the method I come across and I can apply it. No, I mean, it depends on the context, it depends on the problem that we have taken in hand, and depending on that, we actually uh, decide whether we have to go ahead with a quantitative or a qualitative research method. We'll also go through synthesis and analysis techniques. There are multiple techniques, just to name few. There is AEIOU, which actually talks about actions, environment, users, etc. There is affinity mapping, which we do after the research methods are done, and how we actually organize and systematically have a conclusion from the lot of data and information that we have collected during the discovery phase. So we need few techniques so that we can actually know how we have to systematically organize our data so that it is possible to take out the crux of the information and move ahead, and we can actually pinpoint that what is the major issue there, or how we can set a priority to move ahead. And design thinking case studies I have already mentioned, and we'll be going through few organizations case studies, maybe few where we saw the lack of design thinking skills and what happened to those organizations, and few case studies where we'll talk about organizations where they have very efficiently applied design thinking in their organization, in their system, and they moved ahead and actually uh, achieved much more better results in the future applying this particular skill. In this particular course, we'll be actually going through two projects, design thinking projects. One would be a simple design problem we'll take in hand, and we'll try to go through all the stages and understand those stages by doing and applying various techniques and skills, and we'll be discussing all of those things one to one from session to session. So maybe our session will be divided into segments where we might go through the process, we might go through a presentation for like 15-20 minutes, and rest of the time we can dedicate, and we'll try to see how those things which we have learned through the presentation have to be applied in the real time situation. And the second project would be where we'll take a complex problem in hand, which may have multiple problems associated to it, which may lead to multiple solutions at a time. And once you enter or you come across that kind of situation, which is very complex in nature, where we don't know how to actually navigate which way to go, and it tries to pulls you in all the parts because it is so complex. Let's say global warming is the problem that we have taken in hand, and it is not something that has one reason why it is happening. It is not something that is applicable to one level. It has multiple layers, so it is like peeling the layers of onion, and then you have all the layers in hand, and it is very complex to navigate. So that would be our project two, where we'll give ourselves a chance to navigate ourselves and tackle a very complex problem, and try to come up to a solution towards the end of this design thinking course. So for this lab setup, I don't think so that we need a lot of high tech equipments or gadgets with us. It's just basic system requirement that we need, and maybe it would be great if you have a bit of proficiency, or you are proficient in MS Office or Adobe Photoshop, and at least have basic computer skills, so that it becomes very easy for us to actually learn a technique and execute it quickly. Because there will be a lot of techniques that where we have to create a lot of infographics, we have to put things on board a lot. We can do it on paper also, but at the end we'll need to translate it into a digital form or take it into a digital form. So it is definitely required to have a basic system setup and basic computer skills with you. Apart from the presentations and discussions, I'll be sharing various uh, design thinking ebooks with you, which you can download and go through. I'll be sharing various other links to the organizations which are involved in design thinking, and also I'll be sharing the presentations which I'll be showing you across the course we have taken. So this would be the additional resources that will be shared with you. So it's not about that whatever I'll be giving or we'll be going through in the course is the complete knowledge about the field. There is a lot of more things, a lot of things to explore, and I'll be giving you as much possible sources to visit, to see things, to go through books, because there are more than 100, 200, 300 techniques that we can apply, and each technique is different. Apart from this, being a design thinker, it is necessary that we also devise our own techniques. So it so I would definitely want that by the end of 25 hours, you can give a try and you may come up with your own method of applying in problem solving, and take it ahead. So there will be a lot of things and links shared with you over the period, and it would be expected that you go through them and maybe explore other things also. Towards the end of the training, we'll go through few mock interviews maybe, and what kind of questions industry asks you when you once you try to enter the industry on the basis of design thinking course. So just put few questions forward. It's like, what is design thinking, which is definitely doesn't clearly have one clear answer. So it is very much important once you go for an interview that you think through it, what design thinking means to you and how you can contribute to the industry through this particular skill of design thinking. And in that way it becomes a very important question to answer ahead. Then the other questions would be like, where all you can apply in design thinkings, what is the most important skill you have as a design thinker, and similarly what are the most important elements in design thinking. And when I say that what are the most important elements in the design thinking, it will again vary from person to person, that what is your understanding of the complete process of design thinking. And then you might say that these are the 4 5 elements which I think are the most important, right? So it is not necessary that what I have been telling would be the answers of these questions. It will be your understanding, your takeaway from the course, that will actually give you your differentiated and your exclusive identity in the field of design thinking. And that is why each design thinker works very differently, and they create their own way of working, and that is what differentiate them from each other. And that is what industry wants to look into you, that what is your own process and your way of doing design thinking, apart from the standards that we'll learn in the design course. Yeah, so I think that would be all in the presentation part. And if there are any questions, any doubts, any problems regarding this particular course, please feel free, and you may drop your query at info@mindmagix.com, or you may directly contact the concerned people at MindMajix. It would be all. Thank you so much for the time you have given to me. Thanks.